Originally, as you mentioned, the World Economic Forum is based in Europe, and we understand that most likely the Antichrist system probably will be based in Europe, I imagine. It's, of course, we know it's going to go global. So does China, the kings of the East, do they end up rebelling against this? They embrace it at first? What's your prophetically, what's your thoughts on it? Because we know that the Antichrist is fighting against others at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and again, I think they're building this utopia, but the Bible tells us in the 7-year tribulation, he starts out, but the wheels start falling off, and then it's on. And I think to a certain extent, if I were to guess, like right now, you're like, why would China has never stopped wanting to take over the planet with communism. And by the way, with Russia, and they're working together, by the way. I think the Bible tells us the direction where ultimately it's heading. Number one, Russia, I think, is going to come down and invade Israel, which is a whole other topic. You got your Ezekiel 38 Gog and Magog issue. And things of that nature. And I think they're even being baited and hooked, with what Klaus and the gang are doing and things of that nature. Not giving them a free pass. They got their own wicked agenda and stuff. I'm not saying that Putin's an ally.
I mean, World Economic Forum is woke, and Putin is very anti-woke. And so he's been talking a lot about that. So there you have him against... So you still have some lines being drawn.
But China, we know at some point China, and you got the kings of the East, things aren't good. The Antichrist starts out, he seems like he's got it all together.
Yeah.
But again, according to the scripture, the wheels start falling off. And now he's got to take on these guys who rebel against him. Now
those
he's got to take on these
frogs
guys.
are sent out, right, to draw people to war of Armageddon.
Yeah,
So there's a demonic influence.
And so I think right now, if I were to just guess geopolitically, you're going like, why would China, who wants to take over the planet, their words, not mine, and that's the communist agenda.
Yeah, of course. Yep.
Why would they cooperate with Klaus? Well, I think it's a temporary cooperation, right? And the Bible tells us it will be a temporary cooperation, because at some point you could use the phraseology, the wheels are going to fall off, they change their mind, or Klaus was using them, but they were doing the double.
Yeah,
and
they're both double agents on themselves.
And so they were using him.
Yep.
Because basically what Klaus is bringing to the, and I think this is why China is so eager to cooperate, seem to cooperate, is because basically, and this is actually in print, people are starting to realize what this great reset is, including the economic reset, including digitizing the planet, digitizing the finances, biometrically controlling, basically bringing China model to the world. And China is the test case. And that's why Klaus says on tape repeatedly, he loves China. China's great.
Yeah, he's the darling of China.
And by the way, how this is not a national sovereignty issue is beyond me.
Yeah.
And the reason why we don't hear about it is because the people in office right now work for Schwab. But they admit in their Great Reset, and I quote, this is one of their planks. They have 8 planks. And this is on their own video, their own YouTube channel and stuff. It says, America will no longer be a world superpower. Now think about that.
Yeah.
You have people blazingly in your face saying America's going down.
It has to happen. Yep.
Right. And that's their goal. Now, how is that not a national sovereignty issue? Why America, you'll invade over in Iran and Iraq, but why aren't you invading the World Economic Forum and bringing to jail Klaus Schwab and anybody that's threatening to bring us down?
From an NSA perspective, you think, hey, you're worried about me over here as a security threat? These guys have said blatantly, as you just mentioned,
we're going to bring your country down. Right. But basically what they're doing, and this is the phraseology, that's bad enough. The phraseology, back to the China connection, is what they're bringing to the planet is called Techno-Communism. And I think that's why, when you understand what that means, that's why China is kind of, at least now going along with the Schwab program. Because Schwab, and maybe this is their, and I'm just guessing, but Schwab
we're thinking out loud here.
Is laying the foundation for a techno-communism to the whole planet. Call it the Great Reset, Fourth Industrial Revolution, all you want. But basically, that's what you're bringing to the planet, right? And maybe in their mind, they're going like, we'll let him do the dirty work.
Yeah.
We'll kind of go along. But the right point, we're going to turn on it and we'll take control. And I think that's a viable option. And again, the Bible would agree that at some point, they're going to rebel, as well as some other nations as well.
Yeah.
But the techno-communism basically is what is happening right now in China and has been for several years. And this is part of this great reset that they want to bring to the planet, Klaus and the gang. And every country, but China is the testing ground. Now, China has, if people are familiar, technology and communism, they are micromanaging every aspect of people's lives.
Because they can.
Because they're a communist nation and have fun speaking up against the government. So basically, that lack of ability to speak up against the government, or you will be punished or killed, that's part of the program, the Great Reset. Most people don't realize that. That's really literally what's going on. But the other aspect is the techno part. China has a system in place that's called the social credit system.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody knows anything about that, that is the biggest Big Brother thing on steroids. And it's not just micromanaging people's finances, but it's tied them with their massive Big Brother system, which is run by AI, by the way, where you're monitored on everything. Where you go out in public with their massive multi-hundreds of millions of cameras, CCTV system that's there. They see everything you do. You can't go anywhere without anonymity. They know everything you do, what you buy, what you sell, what you post online, who you hang out with, your friends. They know your exact location everywhere. And it's tied into the system that they call the social credit system, right? And basically, you are punished or rewarded on what you do because they're watching everything about you. And this is not coming. This has been in place for years. I call it, again, the training ground, and dare I say Klaus does too.
That's why he likes
China, because he wants to bring the China experience, Techno-Communism, to the whole planet. And again, I think that's why they're working with them. So, at least at this point. But they want to bring that to America. But most people are starting to catch on to like, wait a second, I don't want to be punished by the government and this is what's happening in China with their social credit system. If you speak out against the government, then your credit score, your social credit score goes down, and maybe now you won't be able to get that loan. They even got things where if they catch you jaywalking or letting your dog litter where it shouldn't be littering, you will be punished. It constantly will bring you down. If you hang out with the wrong people, or certainly, of course, speak out against the government or the agenda, it keeps going down. And you basically are punished by the system electronically because you're always monitored 24/7 into compliance. Okay. He wants to bring that to the whole planet. Now, most people are starting to catch on China's basically prison plan, the social credit system. Most people, and so they don't want to use that term. Well, the term that's being pitched here for the U.S., of course, they're not going to say social credit system because everybody thinks China, the China experience.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's called the ESG.
Explain
Environmental
ESG.
Social Government. And it's the same scoring system to where you will be punished if you do not do what they say you need to do, including your beliefs, right? On climate change, the environmental, the social. Are you woke or not? Are you following the woke agenda? Are you speaking out against the LGBTQ crowd or whatever? Are you speaking against the woke agenda or the Greens or all this stuff, right? And you will be punished. Now, by the way, this just happened in Congress. There were some people that were trying to pass a bill to limit the ESG program coming to the United States. You know what Biden just did? He vetoed it. It was his first veto. This just happened. And you're like, well, why would he do that? That's against America, that we're going to be micromanaged like China. Because he's working for Klaus. How many times have we got to say this? Right? And so of course they're not going to call it social credit score. It's techno-communism, and they're bringing it to the planet as we speak. But here they've just changed the terminology, ESG.
Let's stop for a minute there, because what I saw is in the initial stages of the health crisis, okay, you had the Biden administration saying, well, we're not involved in any of that. That's not our business. We don't speak about people's personal decisions or medical decisions. And you're like, oh, okay, well, I appreciate the government minding. So they said, but we'll leave it up to the employers. And I was like, oh, that was pretty slick. So then now you have the employers saying, we have special requirements now for you to work here. And then after it seems that the current administration, after they saw the businesses do it, and then you saw the response, the public opinion kind of shift because of fear. Then all of a sudden later, they totally doubled back and were like, yep, now it's required on a federal level because now, well, first of all, this is only required at a federal level because we're the federal government. We can require this. But what you do in your own place, that's up to you. So here, what we're seeing now is this kind of ESG mentality. Even though he vetoed it, the government doesn't need to do anything. They just say, hey, like we've seen now with some of the Twitter files, hey, there was tremendous pressure by the government to the businesses to implement censorship, canceling, and we saw this. And so they can do it a lot through the businesses who comply. And then later it becomes official government policy. So I think what we saw with the medical thing, with the businesses first and then government policy, we saw it here.
Well, and that is the background of the ESG system. It's going to be the corporations and things, and everything will be scored, the banking system, all that stuff. But when Biden vetoed it, he didn't veto it to stop it. He stopped them from being limited.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So he's all in on this. So, because there were enough people in our Congress, believe it or not, that saw that this is completely un-American. This is basically the Chinese system come here with a new label, and there's no way we can do this. And so they put together this bill to limit it, which I thought was not good enough. You should stop it.
Stop it, not limit it.
Right.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
even the limiting one that was Biden says absolutely not. It's going full steam ahead because that's who he's working for. But you're right. The corporations are the one that's going to enforce this again, just like they did with the round one. And then that'll just become a new way of life.
Yeah, it'll just be new life. People get used to it like they did. And then the government comes in and they, as you know, they slip it into some of these other laws, and then it becomes part of the politics.